do you think the onus is also on the humans how to leverage this technology while finding that balance?
We often assume that customer experience starts when the customer is a customer. But actually, in a customer journey, it starts when the customer first becomes aware of your brand and they start evaluating whether they should take the service or the product provided by the brand.
100%. I think we have the intelligence. How to use that intelligence and deliver that intelligence to the end consumer, that's also important. Without that, I mean, GenAI can give the intelligence, but it has to be put to use. And that's what our people will do.
Often we tend to be very positive about any interaction we had. How do you also figure out, was it really positive? So the sentiment that emerges out of a conversation. GenAI is really helping to drive that across the entire customer journey.
Hi, you're watching The Mainstream, formerly known as CIO News. I'm your host Simran Shivalkar, and this is an exclusive series powered by Exotel in collaboration with The Mainstream. Today, we are going to be discussing one of the crucial topics of our time, harnessing the power of generative AI for seamless customer journeys. We have two esteemed experts with us today, Mr. Abhijit Shah and Mr. Angira Agrawal. I'm going to take some time and introduce both of them. Introducing Mr. Abhijit Shah. He is a Chief Technology Officer at Nippon Life India Asset Management Limited. With over 2 decades of experience, he has been instrumental in delivering large digital transformations in the BFSI domain. He has extensively worked in areas like data lake, mesh, API platforms, RPA, AI, machine learning driven platforms for enabling business functions. Some of the key transformations that he has delivered are AI based credit scoring, portfolio risk analysis, customer 360-degree view, recommendation engine, fintech integrations for innovative business models and self-healing systems, and more. Introducing Mr. Angira Agrawal. Angira heads the India business head at Exotel, driving growth by identifying industry trends and use cases while enhancing customer experience through Exotel's connected conversations platform. With experience in senior leadership roles at Airtel Business, Skylo, Vodafone, Idea, NEC, Tata Communications, Oracle, and HCL Technologies, Angira brings expertise in technology innovation and customer engagement. Known for fostering innovation and cross-functional collaboration, he is a well-recognized leader in the industries. Gentlemen, thank you once again for sharing the space with me and joining us today. Angira, I would like to begin with you. You have an extensive experience when it comes to customer journeys. Can you throw some light on how generative AI is making its impact?
Sure. So when you look at a customer journey, we often assume that customer experience starts when the customer is a customer. But actually, in a customer journey, it starts when the customer first becomes aware of your brand and they start evaluating whether they should take the service or the product provided by the brand. They come on board, they consume services, and of course, any brand wants to drive up better upsell. They want to offer more products and services to the customer. There's a lot of information that comes in. Some of it is online, digital, which is easier, but a lot of it is also offline, which becomes extremely difficult. So if I were to use your example, what is an insurance advisor saying to a customer offline is very difficult to capture. Taking permission to record that conversation is even more difficult. Generative AI, in our view, is starting to bring all of that information together across channels of communication, whether it's on a phone call, whether it's on a chat, whether it's in an email exchange, all of that can come together across the entire journey. So let's say if I had a relationship for 10 years, what have I done, or what are the queries I've raised, or what has interested me about that service is information that's gathered over 10 years. Can it now be put together when I'm reaching out for a specific service, making an inbound call, or a salesperson is reaching out to me? Can I empower that individual, whether it's a customer service individual or a salesperson? Can I empower them to have a synopsis that can really make it more effective? Often we tend to be very positive about any interaction we had. How do you also figure out, was it really positive? So the sentiment that emerges out of a conversation. GenAI is really helping to drive that across the entire customer journey. In some cases, yes, it's also taking over from humans. Some of the pieces are extremely mundane, extremely boring. So that's where GenAI is coming in, playing an extensive role. What Exotel does, it provides the communication layers, but also provides the contact center software that in turn integrates with the CRM or the marketing automation at an earlier stage. The richness of communication is now brought into the lead management systems, marketing automation systems, or the CRM. That makes it even more powerful to deliver outstanding customer experience along the entire journey. That's what Exotel has been pushing, leveraging GenAI even more extensively in the last 2 years or so.
Fantastic, and thank you so much for being so insightful, Mr. Agrawal. And coming back to you, Mr. Shah, from an organizational point of view, what is your take when it comes to emerging technology like Gen AI? How do you think it's making a shift?
Thank you so much for bringing that up. I think at Nippon, we take AI as a backbone for all the transformation initiatives. And we have embarked on a journey of process automation to kind of ensure that we are doing the processes more efficiently. We are eliminating the errors that happen because of the manual interventions. So these are the two objectives with which we embarked on this journey. And we have kind of listed 150 processes which cut across our risk function, HR, operations, and our investment teams. And we have been able to kind of build intelligent bots who have been automating these 150 processes for us. In last 2 years, we have seen the result of this, and we have been able to kind of figure out effort savings worth 7 FTEs because of this process automation. In last 2 years, we have seen 0 errors due to manual interventions. We have seen these processes which were taking almost 2 to 4 hours or 5 hours, they have drastically reduced their execution time in minutes to an extent, I can say seconds. So I think that's been a kind of a fundamental win that we have with the AI technology with regards to our operations and processes. I think second thing that we also have embarked on is our call to action based dashboards for our sales team. That's the initiative with regards to increasing the productivity of our sales team, where in a traditional report or MIS, you would get the data in a tabular format. And typically you might take a lot of time to kind of derive the insights from these data points and then kind of make some summary. But we are kind of building this engine to kind of deliver the summary of these reports directly upfront to our sales individuals, and at the same time not just the summary but also the call to action, what exactly he needs to do based on the data available. I think these are the two things that we are kind of already embarked on at Nippon.
That's a huge gap that this technology is able to bridge when it comes to providing that human touch, especially when it comes to providing a great personalized experience. But coming back to you, Angira, how is Exotel able to leverage this technology when it comes to providing personalized experience or tailored experience per se?
So I spoke about customer journeys, right? And over a period of time, that intelligence gets built up and put in the CRM. Now, I'll use an example. I like being called Angira. I don't like being called Mr. Agrawal. Makes me feel very old, right? Now, if that knowledge sits in the system, then every time the agent, he or she, is addressing me, will call me Angira, right? This is a very simple example of a context, but the more personalized it is, the more effective it is. Great customer engagement, customer experience agents are able to do that naturally. But it has to be same across. So if Angira is the agent, it has to be the same agent that will build it up. How can you, at one end, deliver that personalized experience, irrespective of the person who's reaching out from the organization or the service provider? That's where GenAI comes in and makes a huge impact. Exotel has been very strongly focused on building context. How do we ensure that every time a customer reaches out or a salesperson reaches out, he or she are able to communicate very effectively because they have a better context, right? I'll use a very simple example from the financial services industry. Let's say I'm trying to make a payment. It doesn't go through. And I make a phone call. And I make it from a registered mobile number. Can the service provider say, hey, Angira, you're trying to make a payment. We realize it hasn't gone through. Can we help you resolve it? Is that the reason you're calling? Imagine the delight that would come in because it's personalized. 5 minutes back, Angira was trying to make a payment. Now Angira is making a phone call. The context becomes phenomenal. All of us hate it when we have to repeat our problem statement a number of times, right? That's where the impact can be enormous. And that pieces of information, they would flow from, let's say, the CRM or the supply chain software that's being used, but it would also flow from the communication that is happening, right? So all of that can come together and establish a much better context. So that's what Exotel has been doing across organizations we serve and work with.
Fantastic. And I think that's also one of the edge that's what generative AI is able to do to get the exact pain point and address it accordingly and provide that attention.
And address it proactively in a context that is personalized.
Absolutely. And thank you once again for answering that. And coming back to you, Mr. Shah, in your perspective, how do you think organizations can ensure a balance when it comes to personalization and AI-driven automation?
Yeah, I think I'll need to give you a context in our company and as well as the industry. So we have almost 1.9 crore of unique investors, which is almost 33% of the industry investor base. With that kind of data, we have been able to build AI-based models, which are able to kind of understand the behavioral patterns of these customers. We are using almost 120, 150 attributes by virtue of which we are able to dissect these customers into segments. And based on every segment, we are able to predict what is the propensity of any customer to kind of associate himself, herself with a product. What is the propensity of that individual to buy that product at any point in time? I think having done this analysis, we have enough information with us to make a very meaningful conversation with our investors. This rich information is being kind of delivered using multiple channels. I mean, this across digital channels. It goes to our call center teams, it goes to our sales representatives and RMs, and I think all the channels. So coming back to the balance, striking the balance between the machine and the man. So of course women as well, but the crunching piece of data happens on machines. A lot of insights get generated out there. And I think moment this data, this golden data is ready, I think this is passed on to all these people, and they make that human touch with the end consumers. But that is more impactful. Without machine, it wouldn't have been that impactful than having the machines kind of coordinating and giving them a more insightful, interactive points. That's one. We also looking at GenAI to support our sales team. Specifically in overall marketing funnel, where there are more human touch interactions required. So looking at platforms where an individual, a sales representative can come in and he can just put in the name of the customer, and the system goes and kind of loads the entire data, the 360-degree view of that customer. It kind of builds a context of that particular customer. What has happened recently with that customer? Has there been a ticket? Has there been a call? What is the recent purchases? All of that data put together, it creates a content. And on a click of a button, he can actually send that content out to that investor. So it can be one investor, it can be multiple investors. But I think that's a kind of a balance between the machine and the beast. So basically, that's what we have been doing.
Absolutely, and thank you for being so comprehensive. But along the same lines, do you think the onus is also on the humans how to leverage this technology while finding that balance?
100%. I think we have the intelligence. How to use that intelligence and deliver that intelligence to the end consumers, that's also important. Without that, I mean, Gen AI can give the intelligence, but it has to be put to use. And that's what our people will do.
Absolutely. Thank you once again, Mr. Shah. And coming back to you, Angira, if you could throw some light on some of the examples or use cases when it comes to Exotels, and because Exotel is known for its solutions when it comes to customer journeys, so if you could just throw some light on.
So, a couple of things come to mind, and I'll bring out some data points. But the way we see this is there are three levels that GenAI can really start playing a role. One level is, can it provide the insights, the information that can help an agent do a better job, which is more at an operational level. The second is, can it provide insights, which is the next level. Actually, I should go up this way, which is the next level, which is from a process perspective. Hey, that the agent's done the job as per the KPIs, but from a process perspective, every time 80% of the agents seem to get stuck at this point. So maybe we need to evaluate the process. Now that's a second level of insight. The third level of insight, and I'm sure Abhijit's faced that in his organization, we've seen multiple clients face that, is if you were to ask a marketing person, how are you doing on your KPIs? What's the customer CSAT or NPS? You were to ask a regulatory person, you were to ask a salesperson, they would all say the customer's happy. When you go up to the CEO and ask him or her, it may turn out that an aggregate the customer is still not happy. So how do you get that strategic insight on how customers work? And that's something that we're doing around how do you really analyze each interaction across every channel and see how the customer is interacting. Specific use cases, one of the largest financial services organizations in India is using Exotel's voice bots for collections. And interestingly, one would say, hey, voice bots are robotic, people will recognize that they won't really respond to them. We've done a great job in terms of making the tech sound more human. And we managed to get 18 to 20% conversion rates on the voice bots, which means the costs have dropped dramatically. Typically, it costs anywhere between 25 to 40 rupees for a human to make a call. The voice bots are a fraction of that, and the conversion rates are about similar or even better than what a human would have delivered. So the collections have gone up dramatically as a result of this. The other case that we've had is with an insurance provider where they've started to use our GenAI-based chatbots, which is text-based, and queries in terms of what's the insurance that I should take, how will the policy get issued, providing that information, which is standard information that needs to be gathered for a potential coverage person seeking insurance. They've been able to get it done, a lot of that done, 70-80% of that done through a chatbot. So that's really helped them smoothen the process of having an agent manage that part and make it easy for the customer to actually provide the information and be aware of what's the kind of coverage that they can get. So these are two specific use cases. There are a lot more that we've been starting to use as we engage with our customers.
Interesting. And along the same lines, because you've just discussed these two use cases when it comes to chat as well as providing that human touch. So do you think it has become a necessity for organizations to adopt this technology, be it any vertical?
Is it necessary to evaluate? 100%. Adopt, I would say, depends on the use case that you're looking at. Everyone's really excited about generative AI. As individuals, all of us are using generative AI, in our daily lives. The ROI, the business case becomes extremely critical. There is a lot of hype around it. It doesn't necessarily need to be generative AI. It could be the traditional rule-based AI that has existed for years, RPA, etc., ML that's existed for years. Abhijit's an expert on that. But I think it's important for every organization to evaluate for sure, because there are use cases like I mentioned. Collections is one, customer service is one more, customer onboarding is the third one, where it can really have an impact. So as long as the ROI seems to make sense, evaluate it along various gates, but definitely evaluate it. Because if you don't, someone else will move forward and bring down the cost to acquire, the cost to serve, and at the same time, deliver better customer CSATs and have much lower risk in their business. So that's something that becomes very critical.
Rightly said so, and I think we all can collectively agree to that. Coming back to you, Mr. Shah, what are some of the pain points that you think Gen AI is particularly able to overcome, or at least solve to a major extent?
Yeah, I think when it comes to customer experience, I think two things that come to my mind specifically on one-to-one marketing, the cost involved and the complexity involved in that kind of a marketing, and when the organization has a huge customer base, I mean, like us, uh, one is very difficult, and secondly, when it comes to personalizing the content for these many users, it was near to infeasible till some point in time.
True.
With the advent of Gen AI, I think it has reduced that complexity to a large extent because it brings in the capability to pull in the data from multiple sources, tag the content from the libraries, to combine the imageries, the content, bring up the page loaders, then you can page builders, you can do ABC kind of testing, because of which this becomes so easy now. I mean, and that too in real time. So a lot of hassle which any organization would kind of go through when they aspire to have a segment of one, which nearly seem to be impossible. I think Gen AI is making a lot of strides to make it possible, and I think the capability that it brings onto table certainly helps us to do in real time. So that is one challenge which I see it is attempting to solve, and it will solve in a better manner in coming future. Apart from this, sentiment analysis, as on date, if you really look at it, uh, how many times do we really understand what is the emotion behind the customer when he actually interacts with us? It's very difficult to gauge the kind of sentiment he has. Now, with the impact of Gen AI, we will be in a position to kind of analyze the kind of tonality when he's talking on the call center calls, the tonality of the mail that he's sending to us, the severity of the tickets that he has kind of opened with us, the mails that he has written, and all of that kind of collectively will bring in the kind of EQ or the quotient of what his emotions are when he was trying to communicate with us. And that will lead us to kind of make a more empathetic discussion and a more targeted interaction with this person. I think broadly, these are the two important topics which the industry was struggling to address. But with Gen AI, I'm believing now that we will be fairly in a position to kind of address these two challenges quite well.
Absolutely, because even now, personally speaking, when you interact with a chatbot these days, whatever the scenario that used to be earlier, today you do feel like you are interacting with a human. It's not a bot anymore. So I think there's a huge shift over the coming years. But coming back to you, Angira, I have a question for you. Do you believe that people who are in the customer service industry, or customer experience for that matter, should start looking out for jobs, since Gen AI will completely replace human agents? That's the talk of the town.
That's an interesting school of thought. I don't think that's going to happen for the next few years, and I'll explain why. Till I have an avatar, a digital avatar, that is engaging with the customer service avatar, the voice bot or Gen AI based bot, whatever it is, I don't think that's going to happen. Now, that's an interesting school of thought that Gen AI based agents, agentics, whatever you want to call them, will completely replace humans. That's one school of thought. The other school of thought, of course, is that Gen AI will assist human agents to be able to deliver a much better customer experience. These are two extreme school of thoughts. Exotel's view is that there will be a blend of these two coming together. We call it the AI-human harmony, where even now humans need to interact with humans when things are not where they want them to be. So if my flight is delayed, if my payment shows it's been made but it's still showing up as not been received, I don't want to wait. I want to speak to someone human who will solve my problem. No matter how human-like the bot is, I want someone human on the line, right? So we believe that's what's going to happen. What we are working towards is creating the capabilities in our platform where there could be, for example, multiple agenoids interacting with the human or the customers that are being served. There could be a human sitting on top of them who's observing the interaction that is happening by these agenoids with the customers and getting a sense on the customer sentiment or the customer vibe. Is it in the right direction? Is the customer happy? Is it remaining green? And getting it real time. And if we notice that, hey, it's changing towards amber, before it gets red, can the human agent prompt the agent, the digital agent, the GenAI based agent, to say, hey, ask them that, speak like this, shift the conversation to that part, don't cross sell right now. And over a period of time, the agenoid will become more intelligent. The human agent can even barge in and take over the conversation if it's actually starting to move towards the red. That's where we believe the world will be for the next few years before things change dramatically. Right? And that's something that we are actively starting to build and deploy and start doing POCs with some of our clients.
Great. And in that context, so it would be safe to assume that this emerging technology will not replace human jobs completely, at least for the next few decades.
Decades, I don't know. I wish I knew that far off. But at least for the next few years, our belief is that definitely humans and agents will work very closely together. The same question you had asked Abhijit. They will continue to collaborate and humans will continue to leverage GenAI to achieve their goals much more productively.
Coming back to you, Mr. Shah, I do have a question for you. How has the adoption of this technology shaped Nippon's customer support strategy, and how do you find the balance to strike between automation and human touch?
Yeah, I think we have already embarked on the GenAI journey, and what we have been able to do is we have been able to kind of build a GPT for Nippon, which is kind of ring fenced within the organization. It's in our own VPC, not connected to the OpenAI outside. We have pumped in all the information related to our HR handbook, our compliance rules, our training policies, security policies, our product notes, our fact sheets. All of them has been infused into the system, and the employees are having free access to this platform. They can just go and query whatever they want. Now, if I just do a rough math, we are getting almost 500 queries per day on that platform, which is just a start, beginning of the journey. But even with that, we can see, and even if I say it's a 3 to 5 minute kind of a query, if some person has to handle it, it would result in a effort saving worth 5 FTEs for me. I mean, that's the math that we do. And of course, we are in finance, so even we walk single step, we have to do calculation about what we are going to earn out of that step. So I think we certainly see a lot of avenue in that, and we also envisage that we want to kind of extend this platform in future to our investors, because a lot of information with regards to product, with regards to the performance of the products, with regards to the comparison between two products, with regards to the fact sheets, all of that can be handled directly by this platform on a self-service behalf. Secondly, we are also looking at GenAI platform to predict and be proactively working as a customer care agent, where this platform will be integrated with our monitoring capabilities, the system monitoring capabilities. Any issues that the monitoring system finds out, it will alert this bot, and this can do a proactive reach out to a customer. And while the customer might not even be aware that there is an issue, maybe because of some KYC issue, he's not going to be able to do his transaction. So why to wait for him to do a transaction and tell him that you don't have this document? Why don't you proactively reach out to him?
Fantastic.
So this bot will immediately reach out to him, sort this out for him, and jointly troubleshoot this and kind of close the issue. Now, what happens is, we kind of establish a fact that the customer experience is seamless out here. he gets the best experience. Secondly, the training for the staff is kind of, and the effort that goes in training the staff is reduced significantly. Both the examples that I gave here are indicating that I might not need human, but I want to kind of come back to what he said. I mean, whatever best we do with regards to platforms, there has to be a human in the back of it, because the who is going to write the policies, who is going to write the compliance rules, who is going to write the product notes, that is being done by us, the humans. Who is going to write the prompt, who is going to engineer the prompt? It's the human.
Yeah.
So I think we are going to drive that GenAI and not the otherwise, vice versa, that GenAI is going to drive us.
So I think the key pointer here is the synergy between AI and human, rather than AI replacing humans. I think that is
That's
one takeaway. But I have another question for actually both of you. Every technology at one point it has to get outdated. So from your personal point of view, what do you think is the future of Gen AI related to customer journey, or regardless of that?
Good question. Well, it's early days yet, to be very honest. GenAI per se has come into the mainstream, no pun intended, primarily because of ChatGPT, right? And it's a baby yet. It's grown very fast, but still a baby. It's just over 2 years. So it's going to be around for some time. But my view is at some point of time, it'll disappear. We'll be using it. We won't even realize that we're using GenAI based stuff. Classic example, cloud. All of us use cloud in our lives today, and I'm sure at some point of time, a few years back, a lot of organizations resisted using clouds for multiple reasons, right? So it become mainstream. We won't even realize that we're using GenAI based tech, and it'll become a daily BAU thing. We won't even realize. When will it happen? Next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Yet to know, but it will happen very rapidly. And then, of course, something else will emerge.
Absolutely. Mr. Shah, would you like to add?
No, I think I completely agree with what Mr. Angira is saying, and I think it's going to be a very casual stuff with regards to GenAI. But I think what happens is the new multi-model LLMs are evolving, and I think that's going to kind of, so till this time we are using text, sound with regards to the data, but I think going forward it will be more videos, more unstructured data kind of getting processed with this multi-model, and that's going to be more powerful. I mean, we don't know what kind of disruption that will bring onto table. So that's the next wave, which we should kind of wait for.
In fact, just adding on to, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
In fact, just adding on to what Abhijit said, but specifically with GenAI, the next few years are going to be transformational from a perspective of regulation, risk, compliance. All of those elements become extremely critical, right? There's a lot of talk about deep fakes, right? There's a lot of talk about policy violations. There's a lot, and that's one of the reasons Nippon's created those guardrails where it's your own LLM with guardrails around it. You don't want it to throw up something that is not relevant or throw up something that actually creates chaos. A financial decision is taken based on information that is not actually on the ball where it needs to be. A human makes a mistake, you can fire that human. GenAI makes a mistake, what are you going to do with it? Where's the liability going to go? So all of those elements need to be tightened before things really start falling into place.
Absolutely. And I think that's where, like you just said, the onus is again on humans. In the next few years, maybe we won't even realize we are leveraging this technology to that big extent. So I think, that would perhaps be the future of Gen AI. But I think this conversation has been super insightful, and thank you once again
Thank you so much.
for doing this with us. Before we conclude, I do have a small rapid fire, just a couple of questions. Are you ready? Okay.
Who goes first?
Mr. Shah, would you like to go first? Okay. My first question, what's one technology that excites you the most right now?
I think quantum computing. That's going to be the
Next
wave. And then the kind of data that we're looking at is beta and going to be zeta very soon. So if you're able to get a control of it, certainly, I mean, if you're able to learn that well, certainly you do a lot of things with that.
Absolutely. If you could instantly master any new skill, what would it be?
Master my thoughts. I mean, that comes to me the first. And of course, but on a lighter side, that was the thing. But I've been doing Python, but I would like to kind of go in depth, understand it better, provided the time is since I mean, if I get enough time to do that, I might
Absolutely. A resolution for the next year, perhaps.
probably.
What's your favorite way to unwind after a busy day at work?
What went right, what went wrong for the day? I think, and that's not a formal thing. I mean, when I drive back or when I'm on my way back, that happens automatically.
Pretty intense. And lastly, if you weren't in technology, what would you be doing?
Real estate business,
Okay. So you have a plans for side hustle then.
probably.
Coming back to you, Angira, one word that best describes the future of customer engagement.
Core differentiator. It's two words, I know, but it's becoming core.
What's your go-to productivity hack when things get busy?
Take a deep breath, pause. Just pause.
Your secret, perhaps. And one app you cannot live without.
LinkedIn.
Okay. And lastly, if you could have a dinner with any tech visionary or a leader, past or present, who would it be?
I'm going to be greedy on that response. There would be 4 or 5 names that would come into play. Elon Musk for his vision, Jeff Bezos for his financial acumen and the way he's really built up customer experience. I would think of Sundar Pichai for the way he's really transformed and really brought Microsoft into the core. And the fourth one, interestingly, are 2 names that come to mind, and I had to actually do some research on this, is the CEO of Amex from 2011 till recently was a gentleman called Stephen Sturray. And Amex stands out for customer experience. And similarly, one airline worked across APAC that I'm really fond of is Singapore Airlines. So apparently there was a gentleman called Un Chuin Leng who really transformed what Singapore Airlines stands for a customer experience perspective. So I've named multiple people, but yeah, these are the folks that I would really love to get together with.
I think you've deep dived a lot into the rapid fire, especially when it comes to customer experience.
It's a critical part.
Yes. Thank you once again, Mr. Shah and Angira, both of you, for providing your insights and sharing some really critical recommendations and pointers when it comes to this emerging technology. While we conclude today's session, I definitely look forward to connecting back with you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Simran. Thank you so much, Abhijit.
Thank you so much.
Bye.